This is a glossary of economic causes. Children, please make a note of these meanings exactly in your textbook wherever the words are given, so that when you are reading it, it gives you the exact meaning and you need not run here and there, and it will be easy for you to read. Then we shall be starting now. Okay children, make a note of those points and then we'll start with the explanation. Now it is economic causes. The third one is economic causes, and this has given a lots of effect onto the revolt. This can be the important one, we can say. Others are also equally important, but the economic causes too very important because economically the Indians were exploited. Now in this economic causes, we shall be looking into 6 points. The first point is poor conditions of the peasantry. Peasantry, the farm workers or the laborers who were like the daily wage laborers. They were earning and having their food. The conditions of those poor people was very pathetic, and that peasantry. Now in that we will be looking into some of the points. High revenue demands. British never thought of it as what kind of. Whenever you go with the collection of the revenues or the taxes in the country, it happens, or you have to make a calculation according to the production of the country. Here British was like a fixed number was given and you are supposed to pay the tax. The problems are not considered by the Britishers. They continuously said that it is only a particular amount of this percentage of revenue is to be given. Even if you are in a drought condition or a better condition, you are growing very nicely, this year you had a good harvest, nothing is to be concerned there. A particular amount has to be given. If you lost your crop this year by chance, even then the tax was not reduced. There was no exemption in the tax. So high revenues demanded. Whenever there was a deficit in the treasury, the British had only one point, saying it is they started demanding for the taxes from the people. Strict revenue collection policy, and they were very strict while collecting the revenues as well. They were not giving any lenience in this regard. When they were collecting the revenues, they used to beat the people. The sepoys used to come and beat the people, and sometimes it so happened that the people started leaving the lands, houses and running away from there. So strict revenue collection policies. Collected taxes not spent for the agricultural development. Whenever a tax is collected from the state or any of the territory, that money has to be spent back by the government or the governors to for the development of the area or the territory. But here, whatever the tax they have collected, it is for their selfish nature. They did not repay it back for the society. They did not give any kind of facilities to the society. So it is collected taxes not spent for the development. Many not able to pay the high revenue taxes. Many of these peasantries were not able to pay the high revenue taxes. Taxes were really high. If at all you were earning 100 rupees, you were supposed to pay off 40 to 50 rupees. And upon that, if you don't even earn 100 rupees for that time, still you have to pay that 40 to 50% of your tax. So the many were not able to pay, and they were not able to give. Like it is, sometimes they had to sell off their lands to pay the revenues. Sometimes they had to lose their properties to pay the revenues. So they were not able to store the property for the next generation. They were losing their lands. These all points are leading to discontentment of the Indians, and this was done by the Britishers. Not able to repay the loans. When they had to go for any of the revenue payments, they used to take loans from the moneylenders, the local moneylenders. And the condition was so very low, the conditions were going so very low, that they were not able to pay the revenue. To pay the revenue, they were taking the loans. And to repay the loans, again the high interest rates. They were not even able to pay back the loan also. Not able to repay back the loans. So this is the first point. So we shall be seeing the second point. The second point is decline of handicrafts and Indian textile industries. Handicrafts, it is always, India had its own handicrafts, artisans and all. So in India, as we have different areas, every area was having its own important items which was very exclusive. And those handicrafts were the image, were the reflection of India. Now here they have increased, Britishers have increased the tariffs on handicrafts. Tariffs is the import-export rates or the taxes. So they started increasing. Whenever you want to export your material to the other countries or the European countries, they started increasing the tax. The custom duty, whatever is supposed to be given there, in between they started increasing it. And see the second one, encourage British goods to India. At the same time, when our goods were not encouraged to go out of India, which were very good in quality, but their material was supposed to come up. They were encouraging their British materials to come into India. So it was just pouring out into India. The materials were pouring out into India, where comparatively it is cheaper. And handicrafts, when we say, it is handmade items, exclusive items of our particular areas. So of course they will be little costly with the intricate designs. So these two are contradictory. To bring our material down and to bring their material, lots of material into our country and go with better trading, they used this technique. The tariffs on our material has been increased and their material at the cheaper rate started coming into our country. Drastic reduction of exports. When the tariffs increase, the exports will also decrease. Tariffs increase and exports will decrease. So this is how they have declined the position or the economic position of Indians, and this also led to a revolt. The next point is easy exports of British goods. The introduction of steamships and railways. Whatever British has done, it has done very selfishly. Wherever it was getting profits, that it has introduced. So it has introduced the steamships, the big ships which can carry the goods from one area to other area or to out of India. Overseas trading can go on there, and railways within India. It has introduced so that the trading, the marketing, and it thought of bringing the whole of the market to one place. Like it is, transporting the material has become so very easy. So this is a good part. But it was only for the sake of the British trading and profit. British goods flooded Indian market. As the steamships worked, the introduction of the income exports and imports also they have encouraged. So as British goods flooded Indian market, the goods started coming into the Indian market, whereas the Indian goods were losing their market because they were little costly. As British has encouraged whatever the points it wanted, wherever it can get its profit, those things only British has done. So the goods, whatever the points, like it is, for example, the steamships, the goods could bring the material, the ships could bring the goods into the Indian market. So they were flooding. And as compared to Indian goods, British goods were cheaper because they were machine made and our goods were handmade. So handicrafts. So they were little costly as well. The cheaper material was flooded to India as well as many of the countries in the Europe. They were flooding into and they were getting lots of profit. And for their profit, they have introduced the steamships and the railways. Railways, as I told you, it is within the country. Now go to the third point here. People and ideas came closer. As the introduction of the railways, their intention was to get the goods from one place to other so that the trading becomes easier. But people also started moving. It is not only the goods trains, but the passenger trains also were introduced. And it was for other purpose. They wanted the people to go there and work for them, go for the trading and bring the material this side. That was the purpose, main purpose. So people and ideas, when people keep on moving from one place to other, the ideas also exchange. We bring the ideas from there come here, so the exchange of ideas goes on. People and ideas came closer, which was actually not anticipated by the Britishers. They did not like this point. They wanted everything accordingly, but they did not think that this is going to happen. This actually helped us to get closer to each other, get the ideas, and then slowly go with the revolts. The next point is sale of British goods. This point is almost into this one. As we have seen, the easy exports, as we have seen, the steamships and the railways have been introduced for the commerce, trade and commerce. The same way, the sale of British goods. They were very much interested how their material should be getting into the other countries and how they can get the maximum profits. So the first point here is influx of cheap British goods. The incoming, they have started pouring the materials into countries like ours, India, and many of the countries which they have conquered and they have colonized. They started putting the material here, and relatively these materials were very cheap. So the Indians also, they were not there. We Indians were comparatively we are little poor. We were poor. So we were not able to buy our own material, rather it was very easy to get the British goods. They were cheaper and durable as well. They used to long last. It was not pure material, cotton material, and polyester was used into that one, so the material was little durable. At the same time, it was a machine made one, so it was a cheaper one. Influx of cheap British goods. Handmade goods uneconomical. The Indian handmade goods were costlier, and when it was produced at that time also, it was not getting market because of the input of the cheap materials, and this has become very uneconomical for the Indian traders, and Indian people were totally losing their market and they were becoming poorer. The next point is increase in unemployment. You can see whatever the conditions the British is putting into, which is slowly leading towards your deterioration of your country. In this, the unemployment problem also has arisen. The increase in unemployment, in that lost the financial support. Before, we used to have the royal patronages who used to support the artisans, the crafts, the poets, the dramatists, writers, musicians. These all the people used to support. The rulers used to support. They used to give the financial supports to them. But slowly, as the British started coming into, and British was not encouraging such kind of, so, and even British was putting the rules like taking money or the part of financial resources from the rulers. So rulers also did not have a amount which they could support to the artisans. So this is how the people started losing their jobs. The importance for these people, for the poets, artisans, writers, they were losing. And we also lost the financial support from the rulers to the artisans. Pandits and Maulvis. These play a very important role in our tradition and culture, in the Indian culture. The Pandits, they are the one who lead or who are the link between the God and the religion and the people. So these people were having a good position and they were enjoying a privilege. They had a prestige in the society as the British has come into, and it was slowly deteriorating with the oriental and the traditional part, and it wanted to introduce its own English part here. In that condition, our Maulvis and Pandits started losing their powers and prestige. The next point is inhuman treatment of indigo cultivators. The indigo cultivation is such kind of episode in the Indian history by the Britishers. Our Indian people, our Indian farmers were forced to grow opium and indigo in our country. Once the country grows or the land grows opium, it cannot be used further for any of the other resources. So it was compulsory that once we grow indigo or opium, it has to be grown again. The same plant has to be grown again there. Even in the very initial stages, Indians accepted because they were paid more for that one, but exactly by the end of the day, nothing they got in their hands. They were not paid more. But they have given the advances and they made them do that. So Indians they showed the interest and they started with the production, but later on it was a disastrous part. This is a very important episode in the history. So the Britishers wanted to monopolize themselves. They were forcing the people to go with the production of tea and indigo and opium. Opium is not given in your textbook, so tea and indigo, which they used to transport to China and England. Indigo was going off to China. Indigo and opium was going to China, and tea, they were very much interested and they were enjoying tea. So tea was going off to England. So finally, what is left for India? Nothing. They wanted to monopolize that the condition, whatever the farmers are going with, and the production, it is only under the British rule. They monopolized it, they took it, gave very little amount to the farmers, they exploited the farmers and enjoyed the whole lot of their profits and sent off to England. Peasants were forced to grow this one. It was the peasants, the farmers were forced to go with the production of. In the second part, when they were reluctant, they did not want to go with the production, but they were forced and they were beaten and exploited, and then this also is a part which led towards your revolt.